It's time to get your checking account to zero with free checking from PenFed. That's zero ATM fees, zero balance requirements, and zero time spent waiting for your paycheck to direct deposit because you can receive it up to 2 days early. Open your account with just $25 and see how big zero can be. Apply online today at PenFed.org/free checking. Early direct deposit eligibility may vary between pay periods and timing of payers' funding. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
All right, now we're recording.
So the UFTA mug, Dad's favorite mug, was glued together.
Yeah.
What's that? What's it mean? What's UFTA? What's the
UFTA's like, oh, dang it. So we had some UFTA moments.
Got it.
Let's start right with it.
Well, my dad's favorite mug said, "Kiss me." Oh man, now I'm missing. I'll get it later.
Yeah, you'll get it on your flight to Chicago.
Couple hours.
So the thing that's kind of sticking in my head is
It says, "Kiss me, I'm Armenian."
Oh, okay.
But he's not Armenian. But he saw it at a garage sale and really liked it.
Yeah,
and
there you
then
go.
that's his favorite mug.
That was pretty quick. You're not on the plane to Chicago yet.
Nope, couple hours still.
So the focus that I kind of had was, and we talked about it before, just the go fast but don't be in a hurry sort of thing. And that ended up being the exact thing. We saw $4.
Saw
$4. And the other variables came into play.
in 4 days.
And well, the first one we didn't see it. We were hiking up. It was horrible. But we had opportunities, and that was kind of the thing that was, it just every time that the bucks stuck around, it was either foggy or rainy, or it wasn't a good shot. There was the first buck we saw that was about 100, 125 yards. And it was just neck and head. And that's not a good shot, especially if it's your first time hunting.
It was also foggy and rainy.
Yeah. More clear on that one.
More clear on that one.
And he just hung around. It's like we had all the time in the world.
Yeah, to shoot him in his head.
If we wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that you weren't so overzealous or so bloodthirsty. Like, hey man, I've never shot a deer. Why not start with a neck shot at 125 yards or 100 yards, whatever it was.
And they're just barely poking up over that rock too.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't super clear, right? Like it was and I was pretty disoriented. Right? So we hike up a couple miles in the rain. Well, actually, it did not rain on the hike up. Everything was just saturated from raining all day. We hit the weather window pretty good on that. We hiked up in a hurry to get up and set up camp before it was raining. But it was not great conditions, and I wasn't really looking more than 3 feet in front of me most of the time, trying to not biff it.
Yeah.
Anyway, get up, set up camp, go straight to bed pretty much. In the morning, wake up at 4:30 and out into a not just a drizzle, out into the rain.
Full on rain.
I didn't know where the hell we were or what was going on or what, I knew we were on the side of a mountain, but I didn't know where we were going, how far we were going. It was raining, but it was also fog rolling through and stuff. Couldn't really see.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad. It got worse later.
But couldn't see the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Couldn't see exactly. Anyway, next thing I know, we're just scrambling around on the side of this soft, spongy mountain, and you're like, over here. And we go over there. Oh, there's a buck. They're gonna get it. And I'm like, oh shit, get out and see its head. Oh, there it is. And then I'm like, all right. So I'm kind of getting set up, and then it just went away.
Yeah. And we looked at it, saw it, tried to range it. It was like the stuff behind it was kind of far down, so it was hard to get it. I mean, it would have been a good shot had it been broadside, but it just wasn't.
Yeah.
So I felt good. I felt good because you have the rain, you have the fog, they've been running their normal program. It got really, really hot, and then it got rainy, so they're going to be out feeding. They're feeling good. That made me feel really confident because that was 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:02 a.m.
Yeah, we got up at 4:30 and hit the not really trail, hit the mountain.
Yeah, put on the wet clothing and then hit the mountain.
Everything was wet. Put on your wet socks and get at it. I actually felt okay about that. I was like, okay, didn't have a good look, and first one, all disoriented, scrambling around. I don't know what's going on, where we're at. I'm like, is this what it's gonna be like the whole? That's why I was thinking. I was like, this is what it's like. I know what
Yeah.
it's. I don't think people understand, even people that listen to your show, Jeff, what it's like hiking with Jeff, fishing with Jeff, and no big surprise that hunting is the same. I remember the first time I came up here with Eric, we were going to fly fish in a river, I think, and or maybe we were spinning. Anyway, point is, you're like, oh, there's a spot over here. It's just right off the road. And so we park and we get out, and then you start running through the woods. You would say hiking, or
I get amped.
You were just so excited to get a line in the water, you just left us behind, and you were like, there were like stream crossings. You're just like running across logs and jumping from rock to rock. And it was kind of the same thing. Eric and I were relatively disoriented, had never been out there before. And we're just trying to not lose sight of you as we followed you through the woods to this river. And that's kind of what it was like that morning. Is you
were leading though.
I was
up
leading.
front. So it was like, and this is the hard thing for me because I take all that excitement and enthusiasm, but I have to go really, really slow. And I'm looking around. And that's the thing, that having more experience on the mountain.
Your eyes were as
I'm
big
used
as
to it.
saucers.
Yeah, it's on. It's on.
In the morning.
You got right.
There's a handful of trail mix. You don't even like put it in your mouth. You just like throw it from about 8 inches. Like you don't have time to get your hand all the way to your mouth. You're about 8 inches away and you just throw them and 90% get in your mouth. And then there's the random, nuts and dried fruit bits that just bounce off your face. And then you just turn with these giant eyes and you're like, it's on. Hey, quiet. Move slow for the purpose because we're in them. And I was like, all right, man, we're in them. Let's go. And it kind of got me going because I'm like, all right, this is time. This is what we're doing. I've seen this look in his eyes before. I know what's going on. And you got to match that energy.
Yeah. That's the thing about with that weather change. That's a really good opportunity. This is really good weather to do it. It's nice if you can get them when it's nice and cool, but sunny and dry. But those weather changes, that's cash. Like that is exactly when you see them. They're going to be out. They're going to feel that protection. So it's a good time for them to be out because they feel protected, but not necessarily a great time to always see them, which is what happened with our next buck.
Well, so also the rain gives a little protection of sound as well, right? Like as you're hiking through, the rain kind of muffles that, right? Because there's all the rain hitting all the leaves and everything. And so when you are going through some brush or even not, anyway, kind of, I feel like you can get a little closer, sneak up a little more. They don't hear you coming. They don't smell you coming, right? So the rain gives you some protection from their prey instincts, right?
And there's that difference between, and we talked about it before when we were making noise going through some of the brush. There's a lot of bears in that area, and bears make a lot of noise when they're going through brush. Same thing if you have a sow and a couple of cubs, there's going to be noise. So they're used to noise. It's just a matter of how much noise and then what sounds they hear. If they hear talking, if they hear laughing, things like that, then that's a different noise. This is different than, I know where that black bear is. They're not usually a problem. They go after the fawns. But you can look for those sort of advantages. And then if you are making a little bit of noise, then just kind of stop. So in case something is wondering what that noise is, they're not really sure which way to go. So if you freeze, they might move first, and then by them moving first, you then either hear them or you see them if they pop out. But so we
so we pressed on.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, here we go. We're going to see a buck every 30 minutes, and Jeff's going to look at me and say, "Spark over here," and then I'm going to get ready. And then I'm just going to like go over there, and I'm going to like hunker down, and then just like hopefully see more than just its head, and I'm going to shoot the thing. And this is going to be probably have one all chopped up by noon.
Didn't happen.
No. So,
so we got to the spot that we were at. I'd been texting Ab, and we were originally going to go to a different spot, but there was someone else there, and so we went and crashed Abby's solo hunt. Mm-hmm. But
team camp.
Set up a nice little compound between 2 tents and then a tarp. So everything was soaked on her, so she was going to meet us up there. So we went to a spot.
Wait for everything to dry out.
Yeah, which didn't happen.
No, it was raining so hard.
But so we went up to, and the weather was supposed to break too, and so like that's usually when it's good. So
Yeah.
it's not a bad tactic to kind of wait for that last hour and a half, 2 hours while it's breaking to make your move. Otherwise, you're just up there, and you really can't do anything about it. So we almost got lucky. If we were braving the weather, going out there before it breaks, and almost got a buck, just didn't have a good shot, and then we stick with it going out there, but then you're more wet. You're exerting energy, you're sweating, and then you're stopping, and that's what ended up kind of biting us a little bit. We got to the glassing spot.
Almost bit us in the frost.
Yeah, we were we looking around, and then it just really got to a next level of fog. We got a little bit more elevation, but it was just a next level. Couldn't see 20, 30 yards in front of us.
No.
And so we hunkered down.
No, and that's not an exaggeration. Like, could not see
Yeah.
30 yards.
Yeah, and that's again. I keep thinking about
It sounds like hyperbole.
this is your
Doesn't
first.
it?
This is your first hunt, and it's just like, yeah, he's getting the real. This is real. But I was pretty confident. Then Abby met us up there not long after. She's really good at navigating up there. It was
Blew my mind. I knew she was out. We're like, oh, Abby's up and at him. I'm like, oh, okay. And then like I look over and like next thing I know, like here she comes walking up, and I was like, how the hell did you find us? Because right now, if you said like. At one point, even we were going through, and he goes, "Ah!" I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "I don't know exactly where we are," and which, by the way, was very reassuring because I had no clue.
Yeah.
I'd been walking 30 yards at a time because that's all I could see, and I didn't know. I'm in front. Beer's kind of like, this way, that way. Take that game trail. Forget that game trail. Let's just. Bust through those 5 foot tall,
Yeah, the alpine cedars and hemlocks.
and so, man, at one point I remember just being hunkered down, like kind of looking, like, all right, we're gonna go down through there, and I'm like, through. Oh yeah, you just gotta go through.
Just deal with it. Just deal with it.
All right. And there was like, I was like, oh, so as far as I can see, the 30 yards in front of me, all I see is waist high brush, and that's okay. Let's go.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so when she showed up, blew my mind. I was like, how the hell did you find us out here?
So there are people who don't like to move in the fog, and there are a couple things. There's a series of mounds on this mountain, and Abby and I had been up there and we'd scouted it. So in addition to scouting it and getting a rough idea of what was going on, we also had the Onyx, and so I knew that like we weren't going to fall off the mountain. And also I got a couple glimpses of the mound in front of us.
Yeah.
So knowing that there was no deer there, by pressing on down, we're breaking through a short little section of that brush. We're not going to fall off to the left or fall off to the right or spook anything out. So we're just moving through that to get to the next thing to get to where we just saw.
And we saw,
and it's a micro sort of climate. So we're not like wandering around aimlessly in the total fog.
Now having been on that mountain, and like I've been able to see, like been out there without all the fog at one point, like I'm actually totally confident. Like from where we camped, I could have absolutely met us where she met us,
Yeah.
But at that time when it was foggy and having never been up there, like, I was like walking through Narnia, man.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what was going on. And then the other thing too is on the walk out there, we came across quite a few does. It seemed like every kind of chute we walked through, there was a doe. Either we would see its, tails that's running away, or just standing there staring at us. And like we saw quite a few deer that morning in the rain.
Yeah, and then it really got fogged in. We got to the fog to the point where we stopped. There was at least time when we were making through there that we could see what was going on. We could see that we weren't going to just
fall off the mountain.
Yeah, fall off the mountain, or that we're going to jump a bunch of bucks. I know people are listening like, oh well, that's, if you hunker down, if you don't hunker down, then you're just going to spook bucks all day. And I've done. There's you can use the fog to kind of hide your movement, but also there was kind of the irresponsibility just kind of walking through it based on what we'd seen, based on what we'd scouted.
You knew where we were going.
We were getting where we were going, so we were still on like maybe a fifth of the mountain that we were going to hunt.
Right.
When we stopped, and then Abby showed up, then it really got fogged in, and so we hunkered down.
We were in one location on top of that hill, on top, and she was on top of that mound, whatever. She was in another spot. We were kind of one spot, like trying to look around a little bit. She was over there trying to look around, and I said, let's go see what Abby's up to. Walk over there, and she was under a rock.
There was this huge boulder that had like chipped off and fallen. It was a perfect little spot to hunker down. I thought, this is great because I was soaked but warm.
It once again reconfirmed or reaffirmed to me that the women are so much smarter than us, because we were just out in the elements dealing with it, trying to look around. She also was looking, but she was looking she found like a little shelter.
Yeah.
And I said, oh man, that seems nice.
Yeah.
And then she said the best words I heard the entire trip. I have a tarp.
Yeah, that was so happy. I had a tarp and she had a tarp. We used my tarp kind of at camp, so we had a cooking area and keep some other stuff.
I left my tarp at camp.
Yeah,
I was like, why am I going to need this?
Yeah. So at that point, we weren't even able to see like the 30 or 40 yards to kind of scout where we were going. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't even say, okay, well, there's where we're going. There's the mound. There's no deer on it. Let's break through this or let's keep going quietly. It got to the point where it made no sense to move at all. So we hunkered down underneath that rock, and that's when you started to get a little bit colder. There was a little bit of heat that was insulated by the fact that we had the tarp, and then we had the rock, and there was the three of us, and we talked a little bit and told some jokes and things like that. But after a while, you start to get...
Boiled some water.
Boiled two, because we made some coffee. And then just boiled some water just to kind of keep warm.
Yeah, the second one, it was like a warmth pack.
Yeah.
like a hot water like we really used to do back in the day.
And so we were in there for a little while, and it was getting pretty chilly, but we
were probably in there an hour or more.
Yeah. The weather was lightning a little bit, but it was lightning, like not like thunder and lightning. Like the rain was becoming less
thick.
And so I go out to take a peek, and I see a big buck, and it's just it's 100 yards from us. Come back, say big buck.
He throws between the rock and the tarp, just throws his hand there. He goes, big buck. With
the whisper yell.
Get the gun. Big buck, get the gun.
So we go out there, and I can see it clear as day.
Because you know exactly where you're looking.
I know where to look. I know what to look for, and it's same sort of thing when you're looking through water to find fish. Same sort of thing when you're looking kind of through the fog to look what's on the other side, rather than watch the moving fog. It's like you see what's on the other side there. And it was just standing broadside. So from my perspective, you got down, couldn't see it.
No.
And you're asking, where is it? And I'm like, right there. It's like right in front. Because there wasn't even enough things to say, find the rock, move to this tree. It was just so straightforward and obvious. Like, look at the deer and then find the deer. It was that sort of straight.
It wasn't like a Waldo situation.
No.
I was like, where? He's like, right in front of us. I was like, where in front of us? Like, what do you mean right in front of, like, where? And he's like, right in front of us. Like, eye level, right in front of us. There's a hill in front of us, and on that hill in front of us, it's right. And I'm just like, dude, like, first of all, there's like 3 or 4 hills, and I don't know which one you're kind of pointing, but like when you point, I see like white. Like, I know there's green behind that white, and you're telling me that there's like a brownish orangish thing behind that white as well, but I just kind of see. And then I was like, oh, right there.
Yeah. There's
a
fog just relented just enough. And at this point, I turned around and I saw that Abby had her rifle out. Like, it was up on the bipods, and she had it. She was glassing it. She was just off to my left, but she hadn't racked anything. She was watching it. She was on it. But then by the time we got organized, it just kind of vanished.
Well, yeah. So then I see it finally. I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. Oh, standing broadside 100 yards away. And then, like I said, the fog kind of relented a little bit. And I was like, oh, yep, see the outline of it, all good. So I popped the scopes open because that was one thing we had talked about. Like, hey, make sure those covers stay on because it get fogged up. And in the shelter, I remembered once or twice where we look over and the covers popped off. We kind of, got to close those down. Anyway, so I popped the covers off the scope, go and look through the scope, and I see white. Both sides, the eye side and the far side of the scope, were just completely fogged over. I couldn't see anything through there. It was like looking trying to look through a piece of paper. Yeah. And so I got my gloves on and I'm trying to.
Yeah, I had the little lens rag. I took it out of my binos case and I scrubbed both sides.
Yeah, so we get that going, and then by that time it's all scrubbed up, and then I go to look through it, and then fog rolls through, can't see anything again, and then fog goes away, and no more buck. Gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
So
he was there?
Yeah, both.
And then the fog. It was like it was like a magic show. Like, and then the fog came in, and the fog went away, and he gone.
Took it.
He was gone.
Yeah, so
That's the one that haunts me.
yeah, that one will haunt you. the first one was, it's just you could feel good about the fact you'd take an unethical shot. This is my first ever deer hunt.
Yeah.
And I'm taking a neck shot at 125 yards.
So lessons learned from that second
one.
one is anytime there was like a real, like any sort of a possibility type thing, like, okay, let's like really start like, looking in this area. I popped the scope covers, made sure that the lenses were clear. I could see, because that's the mistake there is just kind of grabbed it, ran out there, didn't check the scopes, didn't check that. And so then when I did open them up, couldn't see through it at all.
Yeah.
And so I should have, that's something, anyway, so that was a lesson on that one. Make sure that you can see through the scope.
Yeah. And some people they'll get down and get ready, and then they'll try to find it through the scope. They'll have it on, and you kept yours on like 3 or 4 power rather than 15. So you would have been able to kind of see it and then zoom in. But some people have a difficult time if they're like standing up or sitting up and they identify it, but then they move their body so much, it's hard to relocate.
Yeah.
So
I was down there.
If you're down like you were, and then you're looking up, you kind of identify it, then you try to find it through the scope. But finding it through the scope, like right off the bat, saves a little bit of time, and then it allows you to make any sort of adjustment you need to make if you have to clean the lenses or anything. But yeah, that's the thing that definitely happens, and it's unfortunate. Just time matters.
Yeah.
he
Turns out
there
it
for a
wasn't
while.
just going to hang out and wait for me.
Yeah, it was there for a while, but took off, and that's a haunting one. So
and also, you saw him, came back to get us. We go back out there. So then also, like, if I was out there with you, probably maybe would have had the time.
Yeah.
But then also, if we weren't hunkered down in the shelter, he may not have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can't play that. Had I not gone out right at that moment, like, there could have been a bigger buck that passed 5 minutes before that, when we were hanging out. So,
right.
After the buck takes off.
When we were hanging out, surviving.
Yeah.
Also, to be clear, like, we were under there. So buck takes off. And then I realized, and I start shivering. And not just like, ooh, a little shiver. It was like the nothing, and then body shaking, teeth chattering, and then nothing. Like the waves of like uncontrollable shakes. And then I look over, and you're kind of doing the same. And Abby's on full blast. And then you just start laughing. And then we're out there, and it was this thing like, it was kind of funny and like a, dang it, funny type of thing. Like, it was right there. I couldn't see it. And then I saw it, just the whole situation of like it was, if it wasn't, like trying to shoot this deer, it was like almost comedy show type situation. Where is it? Right there. Where? Right in front of you. Mm-hmm. Oh, there it is. Lenses fogged up. Like everything that could go wrong. And then the fog rolls through. Can't see it. And then we are left laying there just shivering, shaking, like... My feet are numb or almost numb at this point.
Yeah, it was crazy how it turned on like that, because sometimes you just get so amped that, body heat, you're back in. But it was like, there was, like you were saying, like a little bit of residual warmth in there that was just a little bit warmer.
Like the insulation of a tarp.
Yeah.
And we would say tarp, we're talking like nylon.
It was a
nylon
Cafaro sheep tarp.
Yeah. The insulation of a rock and that, but the 3 bodies and a couple pots of boiling water.
Yeah.
Did not know how much warmer it was in there than it was out of there.
You're
I was just like, oh, this is nice because it's drier, because
Yeah.
I'm not getting hit with water.
Yeah.
Turns out, I think we had probably 5 degrees warmer in there at least.
Yeah. And then that goes away, but you don't have the excitement. The excitement isn't enough to just warm you. So, like, we were both chattering, or all 3 of us were chattering. But then it stopped raining like right at that moment. And so then we
5 minutes later.
we packed up, and then that was the spot that
then it was
kind of
on again.
Start.
After we saw the buck, we're like, okay, hey, there was a big buck right there. Like, time to get out of this shelter and let's like
we could see more of the mountain.
Things.
Yeah, and that was we
the fog is kind of subsiding.
We'd reached the point where Abby and I had glassed, and we'd seen some bucks when we did our scouting mission. So it all just happened to work out perfectly. That now it was starting to lift a little bit. So then we were able to walk, and then we were able to move and kind of get things back flowing again. So, but that's it's funny when I've talked about it a couple times on the podcast where hypothermia just happens. It can happen any time of the year,
Dude.
and you're
Well,
uncontrollable shaking. You're soaking wet. You're out there. You're immobile.
Even with the rain gear, I mean, we were wet from the hike up the day before, just sweat through everything, and I had a dry shirt to put on, and then you had a dry shirt to put on. Abby didn't. I had actually a second set of rain gear. I was wearing my second set of rain gear, and but my socks were soaking wet. It's like.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was nice that stopped so we could then continue hunting.
Yeah.
And I felt pretty good. We'd seen 2 bucks. And this was about 10:30 or something like that, and then it stopped raining, and we had some views of things. But
we've been at it for 6 hours.
Yeah, and then then things just kind of, we knew the weather was going to change and it was going to get pretty hot. And Abby was out for a little bit longer than she only took the day off of work to hunt kind of the morning, early afternoon. So we kind of separated. She sat on a spot where we'd seen the bucks in July and nothing came out. We went further down and we were exploring some new area. Saw a small buck. And that was, we were at the top of this knob, probably, close to a mile down from where all that other action had happened. We'd worked our way down. We could totally see everything. And so we were being as careful as possible to kind of glass, see what was going on, and then make moves on a game trail. But we got to the top of this knob, and we're kind of looking for a way to maneuver down. And so I took the lead because I thought I saw a good line. And naturally, me out there without the rifle, I see this little forky. And then you get down there, and I did a little and it stopped for a second, posed broadside. But then as we're getting organized,
kind of trotted off.
It trotted off, and I tried to again. He's like, no, man. So
my lesson there was don't let Jeff walk away from you. If he is walking away from you, there probably will be a buck.
Yeah.
And if I would have been there, if I would have been right there with you, we would have had an extra 20 seconds.
Yeah, and that was the thing too.
And pretty close.
Yeah,
he was probably 80 yards, 60 yards, 80 yards.
Pretty close. That was a part of the mountain I hadn't been to. This was a little bit further than we had scouted. Because when we went up there to scout, we didn't want to just put the scent everywhere, and we just got a good idea. And some of these areas you're looking at, you think, yeah, it's probably going to happen within this range because there's a lot of territory. You don't want to get to the point where you're just walking the entire ridge and you're not hunting anything well. That can happen in rut too, when some people hike a ton and other people think, man, just hunt your circuit really, really well rather than, throw a ton of miles at it. Other times it's, you throw miles at it. So it just kind of depends. So hadn't really counted on going that far, but it was kind of nice to see the new territory. But not seeing it, again, you don't know the lines. You don't know where stuff might be bedded. You don't see these nice little shoots of green. You e-scout it, but when the e-scout just shows snowy photos from however long ago, and you don't really know what that vegetation is, if it's something that might be bedded in or something where they might be feeding. So didn't even have a chance to try to get it set up on that one, which is different than the first two. That was just kind of almost a rodeo. And then
that was pretty much it for the day.
that was it for the day. Yeah, went stayed till evening, but it was nice to. We needed to kind of regroup a little bit. Slept absolutely horrible. So that night,
First night out,
yeah,
soaking wet.
So we kind of wanted to regroup, so we went back a little bit earlier, probably 6:30, 7 o'clock,
Yeah,
I think.
so-
Got a good meal, slept way better, woke up earlier. And then
4:15 instead of 4:30.
it was kind of the transition day where it was supposed to be nice later on. It was going to start off foggy, and it started off a little bit with some fog that was pretty low. And so when we went out and we saw a buck in a similar area that we saw the first buck, and we were glassing and saw a doe, and then we just moved a little bit and it tipped them off, and they were taken off.
The buck and a doe following.
Buck and a doe following. I think the second one may have been a small buck, like a little spike or something like that. So that buck was there, and I'm looking, and I could see them. Okay, just make sure that they were kind of tandem, and I didn't want you to shoot and like hit the wrong one, or But then I look, and I was in a good spot, and where you try to go down to get a rest, it was just that alpine hemlock, and there was like no bottom to it, so you didn't have a solid thing to put the bipod on. So I was like, oh no, not again.
Yeah, and there wasn't a ton of time with that one either.
No, that was
like,
pretty quick.
It was, if they would have stopped, I think I could have maybe worked something out,
Yeah,
but they
he
just
stopped,
kind
he
of
stopped very briefly.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't your standard stop and look type thing. It was kind of like a lesson learned there. If we're doing lessons learned there was, if it's there, just boom, just like drop down, maybe drop down into a seated position. And then, okay, is there a good rest here? If not, I'm comfortable shooting from a seated position. I could have that actually would have been the way to go right there.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there like, you got this program you're supposed to be running of like, all right, pop in the bipod, drop down, find a solid surface, pop in the bipod, drop down, and there's just like, hemlock in front of me and soft, squishy stuff. I'm like, oh shit, I can't rest on that. And then it's like, then I go to shift to a sitting position, and it was trotting off. I'm like, okay, well, I need to. So lesson there was next time, just like, boom, just pop down on my butt, and then kind of get set like that. And then if there's a better way to go for it. But like, just get down in a shooting position, get ready.
yeah. And then that was
But I will say, for sure, the scopes were ready to go. I checked them like as soon as we started out that day. I popped them open. All right, everything's good. Shut them down. Look through it, And so I was applying lessons along the way.
Yeah, that was good. And then it just got hot, and that was it. The weather was closed, and that's
It became a beautiful day
became a beautiful day
for us.
but got mostly dry. But then we started going through water a lot more. The filter was broken at this point, so we're boiling water, putting them into our water bottles to release the BPA, and then
Originally we were going to go home that day. Mm-hmm. I had a couple extra meals, and then we thought, oh, just the 2 nights. That was kind of the plan, so I left him here. So then it's okay. I got 2 extra, no problem. Yeah, filter broke, so we're just boiling all of our water for drinking.
And Abby, I said Abby had gone home at this point.
And she had gone home.
Yeah.
And and then we started, okay, well, what's this? At one point, as we're, because it's like four to 6 boils to fill up all of our water, and it's sunny and hot, and want to make sure we have enough water. And then at one point I realized, hey, you got any more fuel, or is that one it? No, this one, which should have been more than plenty. If
It was brand new. We bought it the day before we went up.
and the idea is it's just for the dinners, you
Yeah.
know, mainly. And so yeah, filter break. So I start, how many? I go, oh no, this is the only one, but it's brand new. So we start counting how many boils we've done. I said, let me do a
And then I
little,
started shaking it like, oh boy, we're getting down to it.
do a little research here. Okay, how many boils out of this size canister? And then we start counting how many boils we've done, and like kind of doing some fuzzy math because it's based on the 2-cup max fill line, which we went over every time. And so you're going, okay, well, it's, probably going to use a little extra here, and it takes a little longer, and then boil for the whole minute. Anyway, it's and all of a sudden we start going, oh, that's going to be a little tight.
Yeah. Then things, and I'd said we could stay an extra night because we had a little bit of leftover snacks,
Yeah, we had lots of snacks.
and I brought one extra meal,
yeah.
and then I had kept the garbage separate. And in the morning before I left, I looked and there was 2 meals in there, and I didn't even look at the top. It had been torn so like perfectly across the top that it was actually trash.
You used one of the meal bags as a trash bag.
Yeah, and I didn't even compute. I knew I was intentionally packing heavy with food because there are going to be some longer hunts we have coming up. And so I was like, rather than pack exactly what I need, let's throw a lot of stuff in there just to kind of get used to carrying a little bit of extra weight.
Yeah.
And it ended up being
And I
a great
think you
idea.
had probably planned on staying an extra night. You just didn't want to say anything to make me nervous about it.
I honestly didn't think that it would. I was hoping with that weather break something would happen, and it would happen.
Yeah, if
And
we would have shot a buck before then, we probably would have got out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had the extra meal in there, so we had enough snacks, and we had that meal. And I thought too, stupidly, we can stay if we need it. We can stay this extra day. So one more night session, and then one more morning session.
And I figured, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Well, one, I did not want to have it on my conscience that we left before I shot a buck when we could have stayed another night and got in even just a couple hours, even say, hey, we got 3 hours in the morning. Well, if we left without getting in the evening hunt and without getting in those 3 hours in the morning,
Which is when we'd seen all the bucks.
then how would
Or
you
a lot of bucks.
How
yeah.
would you know, right? Like then it's like, yeah, I didn't, but also we could have stuck around another night.
Yeah.
Also, I am getting on an airplane at 5:00 to take a red-eye flight to Chicago tonight, and so I was hoping to get back and like sleep in that guest bedroom bed one more night. Like I thought, man, it'd be nice to sleep in a bed for one night before being on an airplane the next night, because when I land in Chicago at 5:00, I'm going to get a rental car and drive all around Chicago and go up into Madison. And like, I'm not gonna be around a bed again until a hotel
Yeah.
that I'm sharing with two, maybe 3 other guys tomorrow night. So I thought a bed for a night sounded
Not bad.
kind of good. But then you know what is better than a bed for the night is like shooting a deer.
Yeah.
That's what I came here for.
Yeah.
And it makes a better story that we ended up making more of a better story than we had planned on.
Yeah.
But I figure, you know what, man, I'm fine. I've done lots of this. At this point, you're so exhausted from hiking all over the mountain and, beating through the brush and stuff. I'm sleeping pretty good at night now.
Yeah.
In this sleeping bag on this pad on, whatever. It's fine. And it's not all rainy. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try and get out of here early without shooting a deer.
Yeah.
Just to be a little more comfortable.
So we
I've
saw
been uncomfortable before.
Yeah, we saw 3 bucks opening day. Next day we see 1 in the morning,
1 in the morning.
and then it gets super hot. So now we stay out that evening, and then think, all right, well,
We saw a couple does.
so a couple does. We're going to boil water.
We made the
because water is more important.
Yeah. Made the
And
decision.
We're going to boil water. We're going to
Now,
then
this wasn't an easy decision because
easy
we
decision.
were pretty hungry. And so I thought, we could boil our dinners, then we'll boil the water. We said, you know what? Here's the thing. If we don't eat that meal, we got some snacks. And if we don't eat, like, we'll be fine. Like, you can go. We'll be fine. But we're going to need water for the hike out. We're going to need water in the morning. We can't just not have water. So we said, we'll boil some water first. We'll just one eat, just 2 boils, like not a lot, just a little bit of water first. We
And
know
we're back at camp at this point.
yeah, no, we got enough, right, to get down the mountain, and then we'll boil for dinner.
So on the last one, like we're going to boil this last thing of water that's going to go into the meal. We,
And
of course, find out when we get back to camp that I did not have 2 meals. I had 1 meal.
That's
and
correct.
I was crestfallen.
You were
Because I was hoping a full meal, and then I had one of those cookies,
protein cookies.
the protein cookie, and I thought, man, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna have the meal, the chicken and pesto tonight, and I'm gonna have the protein cookie in the morning, and I'm gonna be good to go. And when I come back and I find,
Well, you had the 2 out, and I grabbed the one, and it felt like the weight of a dehydrated meal. And I said, "Oh, interesting. The top's off this. Oh, he must just take the tops off, prepping them." But then I noticed that the top was still on yours. I said, "That's interesting that he would undo the top of mine, but not the top of the other one." And I go to squish it, and it feels full all the way up, not just at the bottom. So I pop it open, and I find garbage.
yeah, and that's the morning ampness, just so fired up. Wake up, get ready. Just checked, man, 2 meals, boom, right there. I have a food bag. All the food goes in the food bag. All the trash then went into a different bag.
I was
And
confused
so
when
I
you
just
said two.
glanced. I just glanced.
said, "I got
glanced
food
in
for
there.
tonight." So you got
I got a couple elements. I got 2 meals. I got the log of pepperoni. Boom, good to go.
Log and a half at this point.
Log and a half at this point. So I saw that again. Morning. Let's go hunt. Yeah, I just checked it. It
I was
wasn't like
confused.
I scrutinized and
So
looked around, but
you said you got dinner tonight. Yes, man. I wish if you would have told me you'd maybe stay out at night. I have 2 meals on the floor of your living room that I left here because we packed together.
yeah.
And as we packed at the same time, we kind of like checked off things as we went. And you were like, nah, it's fine. And I was like, I would have brought one. He said, you know what, though? I actually have 2. So you have 2 extra. Yeah, I got 2 extra. Why do you have 2 extra? I got 2 extra. All right, guy says he got 2 extra. So I got to be honest, I never really believed that you had 2 extra. The reason why I asked 4 or 5 times is because I didn't have any knowledge that you were lying to me.
Yeah.
But I somewhere had a sneaking suspicion, like it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why? And at one point you said something like one that Abby left. I'm like, oh, okay, that actually checks out. Like
Yeah.
maybe she brought up an extra one
Yeah.
and left it, and because she left the extra tent when she went down. And
Yeah, she left the tent. She texted me. She took down I brought up 2 rain jackets. She took down the big tarp. She took down my extra rain jacket. She left the pillow.
that's
So
nice.
I didn't have to ball clothes up. She left the toothpaste. So it's definitely something my wife would have done. Would have left an extra meal.
Yeah, and
Didn't
also
scrutinize
it makes
didn't
sense.
think
You
about it.
made sense. You'd maybe bring an extra one because she's
Yeah.
pretty squared away.
Yeah.
And even if she's only staying one night, I could see her like, I'll just grab an extra one in case whatever. You know, it's gonna be rainy. Maybe actually for lunch, I'm gonna want a hot thing, or like it would make sense that she would bring an extra one. You know.
Yeah.
And then, so when I opened it and saw it, I said, "Oh, this is actually trash." The look on your again, I processed it pretty well. I wasn't too beat up about
got
it
half a
because
meal.
I had 75% expected this, you know. And so when I saw, it, I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, okay, well, there's that. This
Yeah.
is what I kind of thought was going to happen."
I became a Snickers commercial.
You were so sad. You weren't like upset. It was just, yeah, crestfallen's a great
Crestfallen.
word. You were disappointed's not right. You were sad.
Yeah. So then I ate the protein cookie.
You look like a little boy who's like puppy died.
I ate the protein cookie because I was sad, and I was so hungry. So I wanted the protein cookie and I wanted the meal. But
At
we were
first,
gonna
he goes,
split
"I'm
the
going to
meal.
save this cookie." I was like, "Oh man, I'll have another bar for breakfast." No, I don't. I'm going to eat this cookie for. I really wanted this cookie tonight, but now I actually should save it for breakfast. You know what? I'm just going to eat the cookie. And you ate it before
hungry.
the meal,
Yeah, I ate it before the meal.
appetizer.
Well, I really like. We talked before about. I like savory a little
Yeah.
bit more than sugar. So sometimes I'll have like savory or sugar, but then like the last taste. And I really like that chicken pesto. I know it sounds weird to have chicken pesto as the last flavor, but you know, protein cookies aren't like
Yeah.
ice cream. Ice cream is a great finisher.
Sure.
So we boil the water. So we're squared away with the water, and then go to boil the water for the final supper.
And we made the steak earlier, spoken into existence. I said, because we were counting down, and say, okay, if we're supposed to get 24 boils, we're on 15, get a couple waters, 16, 17, we'll call it 18. We also know that we've been doing more than 2 cups, so probably extend that, probably like 20, 22. This would be pretty tight.
Yeah.
But I think if we do 2 boils of water, boil a meal, and then we can just keep trying to see if we can get more water. So what's going to happen is we're going to get that meal boil. It's going to crap out. We're going to get like 10 seconds into the boil, into the 1 minute boil. And it's going to crap out, and then we're going to have to make the decision. Is a 10-second boil, like, do we think that killed the Giardia in there? Do we not think it killed the Giardia in there? Do I feel like having the Hershey squirts a week from now?
Yeah, it could have been preventable.
Am I going to be on the airplane and trying to run to the bathroom? Are we going to have to circle the airport instead of land because someone won't exit the restroom?
Medical emergency. People think heart attack, not diarrhea.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy just ruined the whole plane. Deep clean.
I've been in a plane before where we couldn't land. We had to circle because someone was in the restroom.
Oh,
they can't land if someone's in the restroom.
Yeah.
And they were like, they're over the loud. Like the captain was like, if you are in the restroom, go to your seat. We cannot land if you are not. And like some of the, we had to loop around. I thought it was gonna be me. I was like, but I was willing to maybe risk it.
Yeah. I hate when people, because you hear the announcement, but they have their earbuds in, and it's so loud, and they just turn everybody off, and so you hear the announcement, now's the time to go. Like, just no self-awareness. You feel a start to go down, so you know that we're about ready to land, so you have to go. But then it's like, well, should I go or should I not? And then it's always someone with their stinking earphones in. They just go to the back, they get their Bose noise canceling thing, go back there, and anyway. So,
by the way, real quick, when you said when you start to go down, I was on a plane one time. There's an elderly couple next to me, couldn't hear very well, and he looks over at his wife. She says something to him about time lapse. He goes, "Yeah, we're going down," and she goes, "What?" He goes, "Down, we're going down." Descending, we're descending, and I started laughing
perfect.
out loud, because it was cracking me up, man. This old guy's yelling at his wife, "We're going down," and then he caught himself. Like,
yeah, whoops, yeah. And part of the thing too, the CDC says 1 minute boil should kill everything, but some of the pond that was by where we camped, like that was as stagnant can be.
Oh, that was another thing into the equation.
Yeah, like the length, the duration of it. There were a couple times I let it boil for a minute and a half.
Well, we weren't timing it.
Yeah,
a lot of times it's like, hey, boil for a minute, and then I think it's been a minute. You go, yeah, probably out of that pond, a little extra is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, check, solid point, because we didn't plan on needing it to boil water.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal.
But then later we had the clock out. And it was like, we got to boil. I was like, watch. As soon as we got to boil, hit the thing. Like, we were a minute on the nose because we knew that we were running on fumes.
Yeah. So get that boiled. Got our water for the next day. We try to boil for the food. Doesn't happen. As soon as it's about ready to boil,
it's
concept,
steaming.
We got nothing. Yeah, steam, no boil. Gosh dang it, what do we do? So I pour out the sad water to go along with the sad evening. But then you had the great idea because we just boiled water and poured it into our plastic jars, releasing the BPA.
Trying to get that BPA in us.
This water's still hot. So we split the last cup or so.
Yeah. How much water we need? We need a cup? I said, hey, look, we need this water for hiking out. But if it's only 1 cup in that thing, I'm willing to give up half a cup's not a lot of water.
No.
And you go, yeah, it's 4 ounces, whatever, right? And you go, it's 32-ounce bottle. I can cough up 4 ounces. Yeah. And you look at it and you go, yeah, you know what? Actually, we look at the back, 2/3 of a cup. I said, oh, shit. Third of a cup. I was willing to give a half. We said for one of us is going down with dehydration, we both are.
Yeah.
So we both pop 1/3 of a cup into there, stir it up, wait the 10 minutes, and then share that meal so that neither one of us was satisfied.
Yeah. So I grabbed the meal.
What it lacked in volume, it made up for in tepid.
Yeah. So I grab it, I stir it a little bit, say, how you want to handle this? And I'm thinking, this is a big moment. I'm hungry and I'm sad. This is my good friend Danny, who is not. We've talked about hunting buddies, and the hunting buddies you don't want to have.
Were you hoping I would say, "Just have it, Jeff. I'm fine"?
I knew you wouldn't, and I wouldn't have done like that's. Thanks, I'll have it. It's and you're not the type of person to be like, well, I will. I don't really mean it, but I'm going to offer the whole thing to you. But we talked about hunting buddies, and when people, when they lose their sense of hope, or they lose their positivity,
Which you had done both.
That could be, yeah, I did both. But like
I've never seen you that sad ever.
when you're actually during the hunting part, people who aren't willing to go the extra bit. We put a lot of miles on there, and I know that you were miserable with your shoes and you were soaking wet, but like that didn't deter you whatsoever. Like you were game for every bit of it, which was awesome. And so like it came down to splitting that meal. It's like, okay, we're gonna split this meal. Totally fine. I mean, it's a very small thing, but those are the little things. If you had been whiny and you wouldn't gotten out of the tent and didn't want to go very far and like, what do I do? And just like cheated the whole thing. And then we're splitting up the last meal. Like, man, this guy cheated the entire hunt. He didn't want to get up. He didn't want to go. He was whining about his feet. He it just makes it so different. So
There's only one of us who ever suggested that we maybe stay in our tents a little bit longer.
is that you?
No, that was the first day. I didn't even see it till like an hour later. A text from you.
Yeah.
And you tried to
was me.
say maybe another 30 minutes, but it came out mother 30 minutes. Yeah. But I didn't even see it because I was getting ready because I didn't want to disappoint. I'm like, hey, it's at 4:30. We're getting up. We're getting out of here. I know how you are, and I'm a up and go guy.
Go-getter.
And
Yeah.
so I'm like, up, got my stuff on, didn't sleep, putting on my cold socks, my wet gaiters.
Yeah.
And then anyway, and then like an hour later I look and I was like, mother half hour, and you're like,
you can ignore that.
yeah, no, I tried to.
You can ignore all that. I was thinking because it is, we knew that we were going to have the weather break, and so is it going to be advantageous for us to be out there?
Wasn't supposed to break till 10 or 11.
Yeah, if we might not even be able to see, all we're doing is maybe just stealing hours from ourselves. But I was like, no, we got to get out there. We got to make this happen. So, but no, it was good. There was no like resentment that you were taking half the meal because it was my fault that there was that whole confusion there.
Let's talk about the verbiage that you were taking half the meal.
I tried to sneak. Well, that could
first
be,
of all, we weren't even supposed to be out there that night.
Yeah.
But I went along. I did not complain about being out an extra night.
No.
In
Yeah.
fact, the last thing I said before going, we were separate tents. I said, Jeff. Yes, Danny. I'm glad we're still out here.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know I'm
Yeah.
glad we're still out here.
Well, and that's another thing too. Like sometimes you just want things to end. You want a dinner to end with people who are not agreeable. You want a road trip to end. You want a flight to end with people who are not agreeable. You cannot wait for it to be over. And other times it's like, hey, this is going to be stressful, miserable, whatever, but this is still fun. It's still a good experience.
Ready for it to be over, but I also was ready to shoot a deer.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the mindset. That's what makes it fun. Rather than just run home at the first sign of adversity. It's like, hey man, it's not turning out the way we want to. It's going to be really hot. We only got half a meal. We had a broken water filter. We're out of fuel.
So I gave my mug.
Yeah.
And I said, Jeff, just put half in there. Yeah. I don't want to look. I'm not looking in your pouch.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just put half in there. And whatever you give to me, this peasant who didn't bring an extra meal because you told me not to, whatever you give to me, I will gladly accept.
Yeah. So at this point, I thought this is going to work out because you know what? We did some sacrifice. We did some misery. It's all going to just come together. We're going to wake up even earlier. We're going to go out there. And even though it was hot the previous day, it's going to be hot again this morning. Because the previous morning we saw that buck and then the fog was kind of around and then it cleared and got really hot. And so I was hoping the morning would be maybe similar to that.
We had a hard out time.
Yeah. It just got hot quick. And so we thought we'd maybe be able to stick around for a couple hours while it was cool. Maybe there'd be some dew on the vegetation, but there was very little dew. Only in certain areas was there a little bit of dew and nothing came out. And
we had a hard out time because I got to get on an airplane today. We're still at the top of this mountain. Like I checked in for my flight the day before and then went and slept in a tent still miles away from any way out of here. And said, okay. So, and also we don't want to do the thing where you stay as long as you can. And then what if you do shoot something, then you don't have time to do everything and miss my fin. Then it's going to slow down the way down and I can't miss my flight. So we said, okay, well, we got a hard 7 o'clock out time. We got up at 4. Give us, 2.5 hours of 2.5, 3 hours of hunting. We just kind of, if we don't get anything, we can kind of maybe, hunt our way down a little bit on the way out. And then if we do get something, we got the 1.5, 2 hour buffer to deal with it. If not, then worst case scenario, we get back to your house in time for me to actually shower before going to the airport.
Yeah. Yeah, and it didn't work out. I mean, we probably could have woken up at the sunrise was at 4:50, something like that today. But we were going to hunt a pretty close spot, so we were going to be at that spot well before sunrise. But it does get legal.
We hiked out by
legal-itis.
moonlight.
Yeah,
When we were hiking to the spot this morning, the sun was not like it was pretty light outside.
Yeah, it was
but
pretty light.
It was pre-dawn hours for sure. Like we were hiking by moonlight.
yeah, and that's. Yeah, I think we still probably should have waken up about 3:45, so we could have been there a little bit earlier because something may have fed out. But again, it wasn't a whole lot of moisture, and that's where they get their moisture from, where they get their water from the moisture on the plant. So it didn't end up working out. I was hoping it would, just because we'd put in the time, suffered, and all that stuff, and it was going to come out all right.
Me too. I was like, this just makes a better story. The morning I gotta go type thing. We stuck around an extra night.
Yeah.
And I believed that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
It didn't.
It didn't happen. The door was slammed shut.
But I'm happy to donate my money to the state of Alaska's Fish and Game Department. Also, when I got a notification today that they may be taking volunteers to bump their flight times for a voucher, and I put my name on the list because if I get that voucher, maybe I sneak back out here before season's over just for 2 days or something, just kind of something like that, just for another excuse to walk in front of you while carrying a gun for 3 days in a row.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Good.
My hand, I got quite a few bug bites on this hand.
Yeah.
Well, when I was pumping,
the gnats were bad.
Before the pump broke, I was down by that where the worst gnats in the entire place were, pumping away water. One time I looked down and there was a baker's dozen on my hand. I'm like smacking them away. And then, anyway, I've got quite a few. Right, look at this thing.
Oh yeah, you got a constellation.
It's good. That's good. Yeah. Big
well,
dipper.
I am hydrated enough to pee. So
Good.
that's
Very
a good way to end the podcast. But appreciate you coming up. It was a lot of fun.
This post-mortem podcast that didn't actually end in death.
Yeah, we should probably release this today.
Oh, I did something in the shower. I was going to tell you about that.
Please do. Hopefully it doesn't involve cleaning.
It does.
Oh, boy.
I actually used soap
Oh.
all over my body. Normally, I think that soap and shampoo is a racket.
Okay.
If you just, people are like, my hair's greasy. It's like, well, if you just don't use shampoo for like a week, your hair's not greasy anymore. It's fine. Anyway, I haven't used shampoo in like 5 years. I don't have greasy hair. Also soap, I just hit the hot spots. The rest of it, and I don't stink. That's not how it works. Anyway, but in that nice scalding hot shower I took, I put that soap. I lubed my entire body. I went between my toes.
Yeah.
Like I did the full. I soaped every square inch of my body, which is I have not done in quite some time.
Yeah. The full, because you get so much sweat everywhere is sweaty, so you want to get a good clean. But then also pine needles and just debris. Like how in the world? But yeah.
Oh, by the way, after you go pee, can you bring me out a Q-tip or two? Do you have Q-tips?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any Q-tips. I'd like to clean my ears.
Okay. Yeah. We can
I
take care of that
killed a
for
few
you.
gnats in there over the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. This is you've worked out before, but the mountain hiking, that's a different workout.
I've done it a lot on trails. Mm-hmm. The following only game trails or just discarding game trails and just busting through brush for a couple days in a row was a different experience.
Yeah, and it destroyed your shoes.
I threw them away.
Rip Danny's shoes. All right, thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Go to Caffeine and Kilos, become a subscription member.
Coffee of the month. And go to On Step Alaska. Read stuff about hunting, fishing, hiking, all things Alaska. Talk to you next time.